Hi, this is Rabbi Chaim Kaufman. Welcome to our 118th installment in the Torah portion of the week. As you can see, I'm a little bit hoarse, losing my voice. I'm going to try and go through this anyway, so you'll have to suffer through it. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. We are holding by Parshas Vayakhel-Pekudei. It's a double parsha. Every year we finish the Torah. It's a yearly cycle. So sometimes there are Torah portions that have to be put together, right? Vayahkel-Pekudei many times is put together, and it ends the book of Exodus. So Vayahkel-Pekudei is a recapitulation about the building of the Mishkan and all the loops, the clasps, all the dimensions. We sort of get caught up in all the dimensions, and we take out our picture books to see where everything fit and how it works, and all these different things. Nonetheless, there's still a lot here, to try and understand. So I want to hit something at the beginning of the parsha. It says, Moshe assembled the entire assembly of the children of Israel, chapter 35, verse 1, and said to them, these are the things that Hashem commanded to do them. On 6 days, work may be done. The 7th day shall be holy for you, a day of complete rest for Hashem. Whoever does work on it shall be put to death. You shall not kindle a fire, any of your dwelling on the Sabbath day. So it teaches the importance of keeping Shabbos. Right? Then it goes through, all this information about the Mishkan and building it, etc. Seemingly throwing out there this idea of keeping Shabbos. Right? So what's the connection? So Rashi over here says that there's a warning about keeping Shabbos. There's a warning about keeping Shabbos by the building of the Mishkan. Now we know that when verses are put together, they're not put together haphazardly, right? They're put together for a reason. You can darshan smuchim, literally means you can learn out the juxtaposition of the verses to learn things out. So Rashi learns here that the building of the Beis Hamikdash does not supersede Shabbos, right? Shabbos is crucial. Shabbos does not get superseded for building the Mishkan. Not only that, but anything done in the Mishkan was forbidden on Shabbos. So, if we think about it, there's the question, says, Mori Rebbe, Rav Agon Moshe Shlita should be well. He says that building the Mishkan, what's the purpose of building the Mishkan? We know that the purpose of building the Mishkan is to bring God's presence to this world. That even doing so, you have to guard Shabbos, right? You're not allowed to supersede Shabbos, even to bring God's presence to the world. That's a pretty big novelty, right? Because I would say God's presence is more important than anything else, right? Regardless of Shabbos or not. So here we see that you're allowed to push off God's presence in order to keep Shabbos. In order that as well, if somebody's gone missing, let's say a Jew's gone missing, you have to desecrate Shabbos to go find them. Right? You're definitely allowed to desecrate Shabbos to go find them. You may be in a dangerous situation. So he says, I remember when I was much younger, a Jew got lost, and the Rabbanim, the rabbis over there, said that there's a mitzvah, you're obligated to desecrate Shabbos in order to find him, right? Because his life might be in danger. So hundreds of Jews, maybe even thousands, he says, that travel desecrated Shabbos, in a doubt, maybe they'll find this person and save him. And God commands that when we build the Beis Hamikdash, when we build the temple for His sake and for His honor, to bring His presence to this world, we push off the building because of the holiness of Shabbos. So we see over here the importance of keeping Shabbos, right? To the extent where Many people desecrate Shabbos in order to find this Jew that's lost. Right? In order to find this Jew that's lost. Right? And that's what happened. Right? That's what the rabbi said. Got to go out and desecrate Shabbos because, in the chance you're going to find this person, then it's worth it. Then you're allowed to desecrate Shabbos for that. So that's one important point that my Rebbe points out. The other point is really what I want to focus on. And that is that he says the desecration of Shabbos, the transgression is so bad that if a Jew desecrates Shabbos in public, he turns himself into a non-Jew. In other words, a Jew desecrates Shabbos in public, so Shabbos is not that important to him. It's like he denies the entire Torah. He's got the status of a non-Jew. Right? If he touches your wine, if it's not cooked, right? If it's not mavushal, not pasteurized, you're not allowed to drink it. So in that sense, he got the status like a non-Jew. Right? So I'll call that in my language spiritual cooties. Right? If a non-Jew touches your wine and it's not cooked, the wine's not pasteurized, you're not allowed to drink it. So too a secular Jew. Secular Jew doesn't keep Shabbos in public. Right? He doesn't care. Shabbos is not that important to him. So therefore it's like he desecrated the entire Torah. But for the sake of saving a Jew, you're allowed to desecrate Shabbos for him. So you see how important saving of a life is. Right? Certainly saving the life of a Jew. Right? Even someone who's on their deathbed, about to die, and you're able to extend his life even a little bit, or, whatever the case is, you're allowed to desecrate Shabbos. Because that's the importance of the life of a Jew. That God looks the other way about the desecration of Shabbos in order to save the life of a Jew or extend his life. Now, that's pretty important. Because I might have thought that, okay, Shabbos is Shabbos. How are we allowed to desecrate it? How are we allowed to desecrate to save a life? And the answer is, you're allowed to do anything to save a life. Right? You want to minimize Shabbos desecration. There's no way to minimize Shabbos desecration. Then you're allowed to desecrate it. Right? You're 100% allowed. You're 100% allowed to desecrate it. Again, if there's no other way, then you desecrate it however you need to. If you can minimize it, certainly better to minimize desecration of Shabbos. So that's the importance, of a Jewish life. That even if you're going to extend his life a little bit by desecrating Shabbos, you're allowed to. Right? You're certainly allowed to. But I want to get back to this point as I got off track here. About the importance of Shabbos. Yeah, we see how important it is by desecrating it, in order to save someone, because there's nothing that stands in front of Bikuach, that fish of saving a life. Nothing stands in front of it. Right? So therefore, even to desecrate Shabbos. But, some people have an issue with the fact that, why do we say that someone who desecrates Shabbos has the status of a non-Jew? In many things. Right? Can you answer Amen to their blessing? Can they be called to the Torah? Can they, as we said, can you answer Amen to their blessing? There are a lot of things that someone who desecrates Shabbos in public, there's a kanas, there's a penalty. There's a penalty. Why? Because what does Shabbos represent? Remember, Friday night, you're going to make Kiddush, right? If you're a Jew, you should make Kiddush Friday night. You'll say, right? God stopped creating, finished all his creation. And we say, etc. God finished creating, etc. And we say before Kiddush, for the blessed of Brei Pri HaGofen, we say, Zeichel Ma'aseh Bereishis. So Shabbos is about renewal of creation. So imagine, you're half asleep, very tired, come to the Shabbos table, kids are driving you crazy, instead of saying, okay, gonna make Kiddush, right? Go through the word, blah, 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 right? Drink the wine, grape juice, whatever. What do? You make the blessing, you say, you are commemorating the Shabbos of creation. Now, the Shabbos of creation, you are giving testimony. That's why many people stand when they say Kiddush. And you are giving testimony. You are giving credibility, which doesn't really need it, but you're giving testimony and saying that God created the world. Now, if you desecrate Shabbos in public, it doesn't matter if you make Kiddush at home or not. Right? If you make Kiddush and you desecrate Shabbos, it's contradiction in terms. We're talking about when you do it on purpose. We think, I don't have to keep all the laws, whatever. Right? Whatever the case is, you desecrate Shabbos in public, right? And then you want to make Kiddush. Right? It sounds like a contradiction. So the reality is that someone, even if they make Kiddush, even if they say the words, if they desecrate Shabbos in public, it's like they deny the entire Torah. Because what does Shabbos represent? Shabbos represents creation, where God stopped creating. If God stops creating, and He created Shabbos, you're giving testimony to that fact. You desecrate Shabbos in public, it's like you deny God created the world. If you deny God created the world, that's pretty bad. So therefore, there's a punishment. There is a penalty, so to speak, for doing so, right? And that penalty is, in many ways, you will have the status of a non-Jew. Now, we're not saying you have the status of a non-Jew just to make fun of you. We have plenty of things we could probably make fun of you for, which is, may or may not be forbidden. Depends what it is. But in general, when a person does something as egregious as that, why in the world should they think they have privileges just because they're born a Jew? I want to get called to the Torah. I want to make this blessing. I want to do this. Who cares what you want to do? It's not about what I want to do. It's about what's true. Right? If you desecrate Shabbos in public, meaning you don't care. You don't care. Shabbos is not only light in your eyes, it's like non-existent. If that's the case, why do you think you should have all the privileges? Right? It's kind of funny in a certain way. Jew marries a non-Jew. But if you ask any Jew out there, wherever they've come from, and say, are you allowed to marry a non-Jew? Everybody knows. Unless they were held captive. They don't even know they're Jewish. Right? Everybody knows you don't marry a non-Jew. Right? Torah makes that clear. Everybody knows this. Right? It's not something we're hiding. Right? Therefore, somebody intermarries, and they say, I want the same privileges of every Jew. I should be able to be called to the Torah. I should be able to do this, do that. Question is, are there repercussions for your actions or not? Is there right and wrong? Don't give me philosophical mumbo jumbo why it doesn't apply, this, that. Is the Torah true? Is it not true? If it's not true, do whatever you want. If the Torah is not true, then I have no claim. I have nothing to say. Well, most people say, of course you have something to say, right? That's true. I do have quite a bit to say about a lot of things. Nonetheless, the issue will be why you think that you should still have all the privileges. Right? Why should nothing change? Just because just because you intermarried. You say, well, I'm not Orthodox, I'm not this, I'm not that. But there are people out there that'll still say, I feel Jewish, I want to be, part Jewish, I want to have some of the same privileges. So again, we'll throw out this question, does the person deserve it? You say once a Jew, always a Jew, up to a point. Right? What does it mean up to a point? Up to a point means that once a person crosses a certain barrier, their status of being a Jew is called into question. Since everybody knows intermarriage is forbidden, once a person intermarries, that's it. Right? That's it. They can forfeit their status of being Jewish. Can they do tshuva? Can they repent? 100%. But there are very strong repercussions. And with those repercussions, a person can't have any claims against. Well, it's not fair, it's not this. There's a reality. Once a person goes beyond that boundary, that's it. It's like you've gone to the point of no return. Obviously, you can return, but keep in mind, you've cut yourself off. You have 100% cut yourself off. If you cut yourself off, what's your claim? You're just making a mockery of the Torah. You're saying, I want this, I want that, I want the other thing, just the way I want to do it. Me, 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 me. All five of us. Right? I want to do what I want to do. So I ask you the $1 million question. Is that what Torah is? Is that what Torah is? And the answer is no. Torah's not wishy-washy. Torah is very clear. What's permitted, what's forbidden, pretty clear. At the end of the day, you have to own up for what you did. You went against God creating the world, so to speak. Then what do you think should happen to you? Most people say nothing. Let me live the way I want to live. And that's it. I have my own connection. Right? I have my own connection to God. But again, are we living in the world of fantasy? Or are we living in a world that's guided by Torah? Is it true or it's not true? Right? We mentioned many times. You know, why is he bringing this up again? Because over here, the punishment is severe. That if a person transgresses Shabbos in public, if there was a Beis Hamikdash, you get warned for that certain act, you get killed. If there are witnesses. Not only that, get killed in this world, spiritually, you're cut off from the next world. Use your portion of the world to come. So, Shabbos is crucial. It's crucial to Jewish belief. It's one of the major things that sets us apart from everybody else. Because even though some people will say, in Genesis chapter 2, where Shabbos is given to the world, everyone can participate. But go to Exodus chapter 20. God gave the Torah to the Jewish people. And over there, he says, it's a sign between me and you. Not for non-Jews. The question, can a non-Jew tap into Shabbos at some level? Right? For the most part, it's not true. You shouldn't have any part in it. A non-Jew, Noahide, wants to come to synagogue. Guess it's alright. Let him come to synagogue. The rabbi allows him to come to synagogue on Shabbos. Observing Shabbos is really for a Jew. You tell me the Rambam says that any mitzvah they do, they get credit for? Right, the question by mezuzah. There's a question by tefillin, for sure. That a non-Jew shouldn't do. Right, but maybe we'll say, maybe some aspect he could keep. Maybe. Right? But it would seem, from simple explanation, that Shabbos is for Jews. Non-Jew wants to keep Shabbos, let him convert. Why should you have the best of both worlds? So, the results can be catastrophic. A person, once they start doing things on their own, without the guidance of Torah, they take themselves out of keeping the Torah. We're not talking about relying on leniencies, if there are leniencies, whatever the case is. We're talking about doing things that go against Torah. Therefore, you do something so egregious, as not keeping Shabbos in public. Doesn't matter what your philosophical bent is. Is that called desecration of Shabbos? Yes. It's called desecration of Shabbos. If it's called desecration of Shabbos, what are the repercussions? Are there any repercussions? So we know if a person did something on purpose. There's a question if you get benefit on Shabbos, they have to wait till after Shabbos. But if someone doesn't care altogether, why should they think that they can do whatever they want? Again, it's not to knock down secular people for the sake of knocking them down. The laws are upright, the laws are true. There's a technical issue. You deny that God created the world. That's a big spit in God's face. Right? You're spitting in God's face. You deny creation. It's pretty bad. So why should a person think, even if I do that, whatever my philosophical bent is, I deserve all the rights of a Jew? And again, it's not it's not just to make fun of someone and say, no, you can't do this. No, we're not going to answer amen to your blessing. Like, nah. None of that. Right? There's a technical issue. The technical issue is someone who doesn't keep Shabbos, what is their status? Not what do I think of them. Not what their personality is. What is the status according to the Torah? Comes along the Torah and says they have the status of a non-Jew. Can't touch their wine. Right? Or they can't touch your wine. Unless it's cooked. They can't cook for you from beginning to end of a meal. Right? Reheating something else. But they took a burger, put it on the fire, did everything to cook it. Jew didn't have a part in it. So an Orthodox Jew can't eat it. Again, why not? It's kanas. It's a punishment. It's a fine. Why? Because what they did is pretty severe. So in that case, they have the status of a non-Jew. And having the status of a non-Jew, there are repercussions. People try and, go through this world and say, I'm going to do what I want. It's hefker. It's ownerless, this world. You want to be your way? Fine. Don't tell me how to act. Don't tell me how to be. My answer would be, okay, you're right. The Torah will tell you what to do. We'll give rebuke when we have to give rebuke. But the Torah is pretty clear. So you want to say, well, I don't believe in the Torah. It's only the rabbis. It's this, it's that. Many people know I have this issue, when it comes to oral law. So, people will say, the rabbis are adding to the Torah, they're subtracting from the Torah, you're not allowed to do that. When they come up with the laws, they're explaining what they mean. What does it mean not to kindle a fire? What about a microwave? What about an oven? Is that the same thing? What about electricity? Oh, they're adding to the Torah. Do me a favor. Think about it. What does adding to the Torah mean? You're adding on to the mitzvah. There's a mitzvah to keep Shabbos. So you're going to say you can't use electricity. That's adding to the Torah. That's part of the mitzvah of Shabbos. It's an explanation of what you're allowed to do or not allowed to do. Not adding to the Torah. Adding to the Torah is I put an extra fringe on my tzitzis. I add an extra compartment in my tefillin. That's adding to the Torah. This isn't adding to the Torah. So, as we mentioned many times, a person has to realize that they're responsible for what they do. What they think. They have to work very hard in controlling their thoughts, their actions. No one's going to get off scot-free. But no one should ever think I can do whatever I want. And that there shouldn't be any repercussions. Because you have to get to the original question. And the original question is, did God speak on Mount Sinai or not? Did he speak to the Jewish people or not? So if he did, what did he say? What does it mean? It's legitimate questions. But if we believe he spoke and gave the entire Torah with a written Torah, with an oral tradition, then we're obligated to keep it. Right? Then we're obligated to keep it. So if we're obligated to keep it, it's not what I feel like doing. Now, throw that all out. Let's say you can pick and choose. Let's say you can pick and choose. For argument's sake, I'll put on my conservative yarmulke. Say, okay, you can pick and choose. If you feel like doing it, fine. You don't feel like doing it. My question would be, even philosophically, does that, in fact, work? If it's 80% into marriage, 70% into marriage, it doesn't work. I don't care what your philosophy is. It doesn't work. If it doesn't work, that's it. Find another philosophy that works. Find something, at least half the amount of time you're going to be able to pass it down. Now, some people have said, who cares if it gets passed down or not? Doesn't get passed down, doesn't get passed down. Well, I've got a problem with that. It's not what the Torah wants. It's not what the Torah wants. The Torah wants to continue. But we've seen throughout history, how many Jews survive throughout the generations. Many are killed, others assimilate. They're talking a small percentage. And this small percentage is the one that's going to carry the true Torah. Because how do you know that your observance is totally true? Maybe this is true. Maybe that's true. Right? The simple answer is, you have to evaluate evidence. Is there evidence showing that it's true or not? Right? For the Torah not to be true, all we have to do is find one thing wrong. One thing that doesn't add up. We find one thing that doesn't add up, it goes down like a stack of dominoes. Right? That's the reality. That is the reality. Because if you found, like by the laws of kashrus, it says which animals you're allowed to eat, which not, right? There are some that have, cloven hooves, and they don't chew their cud or vice versa. But there are only certain animals like that. What do you think that Moshe Rabbeinu was Dr. Doolittle? Was like, they can talk with the animals. What do you think? If you find one case that's an exception, Torah can't be true. Because Moshe Rabbeinu says, it's God speaking to him, this is what it means. These are the only exceptions. What if you find another exception? Doesn't that knock down what the Torah then said about kosher animals? Certainly does. You find something that's not true, whole thing goes down. So, by someone who's not an Orthodox Jew, that's not the case. Some of them may actually have questions. They may actually be legitimate questions. But they're not asking, they're not really asking, how do I know it's true? Most people are not thinking that deep. They'll say, well, if God is all good, why do people suffer? That'll be a question they'll throw out there. I think God wants me to only eat these things and not other things. Like, why does he care what I eat? It's only for that generation, this, that. Come up with all kinds of different excuses. At the end of the day, they're going to have to answer. They're going to have to answer for what they said, for what they've done. And when they have to answer, they can't say, well, I deserve better. They'll say, you can't throw the kitchen sink at me. It's not fair. Why isn't it fair? Because so what if I didn't keep Shabbos? So what if I desecrated in public? Why did that give you a right to treat me like a non-Jew in different ways? So again, it's not what I think. I mean, I think a lot of things, but it has nothing to do with it. It has to do with what the Torah says, what the rabbis tell us. Right? That is what we have. And that is what has kept the Jewish people together for the last 2,000 years. That being the case, we have no right to say anything. Because we know we're not perfect by any stretch. But someone who intermarries, cuts himself off from the Jewish people. Someone, as a Jew, doesn't keep Shabbos. They deny God. They deny creation. Also, cuts themselves off. There are many things a Jew can do within Torah to do that. Some more stringent, some less stringent. Whatever it is, they're bad. And there are repercussions. This is what people never like to hear. They're like, it doesn't matter what I've done. I want this. I want all the accolades. Well, shut your mouth. You don't deserve it. You don't keep Shabbos. You desecrate it. You spit in God's face. Why do you deserve it? I don't care if you don't know anything. You want what you want. That's not Torah. That's democracy. Torah's not about democracy. We don't believe in democracy. Right? You have 3 rabbis, rabbinical court, you go after the majority. Not democracy. You go according to the majority. There are rules. There are regulations. You don't have to like it. You have to keep it. Doesn't matter. Passover, there's plenty of them. Right? Speaking about Passover one day. Coming up soon. Right? Next few weeks. People are busy cleaning their houses now. After recovering from Purim. So you'll say, just leave me alone. Let me do what I want. The problem is, when you have desecration of Shabbos, as my Rebbe says, I've seen it brought down in other places as well. If a person sees desecration of Shabbos and they don't scream out, doesn't mean you have to literally scream out. If they don't scream out, it means that Shabbos is not that important to them. Because when Shabbos gets desecrated, it should pain us. When you see it and you see that somebody doesn't care, it should pain us. If it doesn't, there's something wrong with us. You tell me you stand out there and you protest without saying anything. You protest just to show that if you don't protest, especially in Israel, then God's going to say, well, no one protests. They think it's okay to desecrate Shabbos. Punishment is that much more severe. So again, you're not standing there saying Shabbos, you're screaming this, that, confrontational. You don't have to be confrontational. At all. These people just don't understand the beauty of what Shabbos is. Right? That's pretty clear. But at the same time, it's going on in the holy city. It's got to cause tremendous pain to God. It's not what He wants. Gives people free will. If we would keep Shabbos properly, you'd have less desecration of Shabbos. It's all dependent on us. Someone who grew up, doesn't know anything. They don't keep Shabbos, or they don't keep anything. I can hold it against them. They never grew up with proper Jewish education. If they didn't grow up with proper Jewish education, you can't hold it against them. Right? No way to hold it against them. At the same time, what they do is not necessarily on purpose. It's considered shogeg, by accident, because they don't know what they're doing. Because they never had a proper Jewish education. So we cut them some slack. But we don't give them a free pass. It's because they might have grown up as a potato farmer in Idaho, No offense to anyone who's a potato farmer or grew up in Idaho. Nonetheless, we don't give them a free pass. Ignorance isn't bliss over here. There's a price you're going to pay later. But at the same time, there are repercussions. And those repercussions can be pretty severe. Spiritual cooties, that's pretty severe. Can't touch someone else's wine. People may get offended. Okay. They'll get offended. So let's go back to our original question. Is it all make-believe? If it's all make-believe, okay. Then do whatever you want. But if the Torah is true, then there's going to be payback. There's reward and punishment, especially if you desecrate one of the most important mitzvahs that exists. And you deny that God created the world. How can someone think that that's not important? And that there shouldn't be repercussions? They'll say, well, that's your belief, this is my belief. But what does the Torah say? Forget what my belief is. No one cares what my belief is. What does the Torah say? Torah says it's forbidden. If you desecrate Shabbos, you're liable for a death penalty. You get spiritually cut off. I don't care if you don't know what work is. You're going to die. Right? If there was a temple, you'd be killed. No temple, okay, it's spiritually cut off. But it's still all pretty bad. That's what the Torah says. Like I said, well, what does that mean? God says don't do any work on Shabbos. If you do, you're liable for the death penalty. God tells us what work is? No. He only tells us you're not allowed to cook, you're not allowed to light a fire, not allowed to carry. That's it. We don't hear anything else. No other categories. Rabbis come along and teach us what's forbidden or permitted on Shabbos. True. But that's what the Torah says. So, you can throw stuff at the screen. You can yell at me, send me emails, whatever. At the end of the day, I'm only quoting what the Torah says. So then you have to understand what the Torah means. What does it mean? You're not allowed to do work. What does it mean that you get spiritually cut off? And you'll get killed over here. Why should that be? Right? Why should that be? And the answer is because it's pretty darn stringent. It's something that's essential in Jewish belief. And you're walking and treading all over it and you don't care. So by not caring, the repercussions are unbelievable. Right? By the more stringent things that a person does wrong, the punishment is much more severe. Right? But you're not allowed to do anything wrong, even if the punishment isn't so severe. But if we know a punishment by this, the strongest punishment, stoning by death, right? You're stoned to death. And the rabbis tell us that's the most stringent, that is the most harshest of corporal punishment. So we know this is pretty important. Because other transgressions are not like that. There are some are, but many are not. So we see how important it is. So if we see how important it is, how does someone come along and say, I still want, I still this? Because they don't care. They don't care. What do they want? They want their honor. They want their kavod. I deserve this. I deserve that. It has nothing to do with what I deserve or what I don't deserve. It's about, can I do it? Is it permissible? Or it's not permissible? If it's not permissible, then what are you squawking about? What are you jumping up and down about? You're jumping up and down because you want honor. And you think you deserve honor. Now, in most cases, you're probably right. You should get the honor. Unless you did something not to deserve it. Right? So that being the case. So you can't turn the Torah into a pretzel, as I always say. Because it's not about make-believe. It's not fantasy. Right? There's plenty of fantasy out there. Probably very good fantasy. Right? But nonetheless, we believe Torah is the real deal. We believe it can't be changed. Right? It has to be reinterpreted for each generation. See how things fit in. Are they the same, different, whatever. But can't just do whatever we want. Right? The Merebbe points out the importance of saving Jewish life, even if you have to desecrate Shabbos. Right? Because Shabbos even pushes God's presence away to a certain extent. And at the same time, someone who desecrates Shabbos in public, whether they know what they're doing, they don't know what they're doing, there are repercussions. What are those repercussions? Right? One is that they have status of a non-Jew. Can't touch your wine unless it's cooked. Can't cook your food from beginning to end. Right? It's pretty, come up different times. These things. But it's because you're treading on something so holy. And the fact that it's in public, if it's in private, desecrated, okay, it's still bad. But the fact that you desecrate it in public, and you don't care, right? And even if there's a rabbi standing next to you, you'd still desecrate it, because it means you don't care. It's a merit, certain level of a rebellion against God. Even if you don't know what you're doing, it's still called a rebellion. So it gives me the right to do whatever I want? No. But don't think you get off scot-free. Yeah, the Orthodox, we're closed-minded, we're stringent, we follow all the rules, or at least we try to. That's true. We try to keep the Torah to the best of our ability. But nowhere do we want to turn the Torah into a pretzel. We want to understand and keep the law the way it should. Because if not, we see what the repercussions are. You look at the Shema, second paragraph of the Shema. It says, if you don't keep my commandments, you won't have food, you won't have rain. One thing dependent on the other. Jewish people have to uphold their end of the bargain. We don't uphold our end of the bargain, catastrophic for us, catastrophic for the world. But we can't think that what we do doesn't matter. Or let's say better, that what we do should have repercussions. Right? No one wants to hear that. If a person stole something from a store and they get caught, they shouldn't get punished? Of course, there are repercussions. There are laws. Torah also has laws. What's the purpose of the laws? Different from the laws in the secular world. Laws in the secular world are there to keep order. Because if they didn't keep order, then the world would be even crazier than it is. What's the purpose of the laws of the Torah? The laws of the Torah to benefit us. To turn us into spiritual human beings. To draw close to God. That's what He wants. For us to draw close to Him. That's what our soul's doing in this world. Stuck in the body. For whatever purpose it's supposed to do. Right? The main purpose is drawing close to God. That is the purpose. Nothing more, nothing less. You have to work at it. But for goodness sakes, don't make up things. Don't make up different Torahs and say, well, I think like this, I think like that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and think there are no repercussions. Right? Kaufman's language is, think again. Torah says what's right and wrong. You might not want to, you might not like it. Too bad. Right? You may not like to eat 35 pounds of matzah in 3 seconds and have to whistle dicks and go, but the Torah says that you shut up and eat the matzah. That's what you got to do. Bothers my stomach. Well, too bad. Deal with it. That's our obligation. We don't make up nuances. We don't make up new things over here. We don't, a lot of people would say, yeah, I'd keep this, I'd keep that, maybe, as long as it doesn't inconvenience my life. Right? How many times have I heard that? It's an inconvenience. Yeah, life is an inconvenience. Breathing is an inconvenience. Who gives you the right to breathe? You have a spiritual soul inside you, gives you life. When that spiritual soul comes out, you're dead. That's it. You gotta be thankful, for what we have instead of trampling on it and making up your own Torah. So, I want to remind people that I have a website. Anyone interested, I can send a walkthrough video for the website. It's got classes on ways of the righteous and Jewish history, starting from the Second Temple. I'm going to put some other stuff on there as well. I've got a little bit behind in doing that. That's a subscription website, so anyone interested, you can send me an email, rabbichaimkoffen@gmail.com, rabbichaimkoffen @gmail.com, or you can find me beyond Orthodox Conversion to Judaism. Send me a text there, and I'll send you a walkthrough video. You can take a look at what's on there, if you're interested. I have a class, it's an audio class, not a live class, Path of the Just, book on Musar by the Ramchal. Anyone interested in that can let me know. Class on Duties of the Heart, which is live every Tuesday night, 9 o'clock. I have 2 question-answer sessions on Tuesday, 10 in the morning, New York time. Thursday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's for everybody. I also have conversion classes, no-hide classes. Pretty busy. So anyone interested in any of that, can certainly contact me at all these places. You can also take a look at my blog. Forgot to mention my blog, if anyone ever finds it. It's called orthodoxconversion.com. So I'm going to sign out. I do apologize. My voice still a little bit going since recovering from this cold. But, again, I do apologize for that. In any case, I want to wish everyone a great Shabbos.